Myself and John are here at Eurobike in Germany, the world's biggest bike exhibition and trade show, on the hunt for hot new tech.
Ollie, what are you wearing?
This is what everyone wears in Germany, John.
No, they don't.
Lederhosen, socks, sandals. It's all part of my cunning plan, right? By blending in with the locals, I'm going to be able to get close to the hot new tech without them suspecting.
All right, well, I'll tell you what then. You walk in that way, the opposite direction to me, please. And I'm going to go over there, and I just hope you've brought some other clothes.
Right, let's do it.
Last year at Eurobike, we showed you the ceramic speed driven system. 12 months on, here is Driven V2. Now this one has a fully functioning gear changing setup. How exciting is that? And apparently it's even got a torque decoupler built into it too, which is a first for me. Now I don't know all the ins and outs about it because it is so brand new, so I'm going to have to speak to Jason, who's the head engineer, to find out exactly how this bit of tech works. Right, Jason, explain to me, how on earth does this work? Because I'm looking at it and I'm puzzled a little bit because I can't see how you can change gear, but please put my mind at rest.
All right, actually, John, it's pretty simple. We use a split pinion technology where the pinions will split in an axial manner. Whenever one half of the pinion is away from the rear cog, it will step over to the next gear. So it actually moves one gear amount. Then as that pinion rolls through, the other half comes away from the cog and it moves over also into the new shift track. So now both pinions are in the same plane, but one gear over.
Right, okay, that's really put my mind at rest, because at first I was thinking there's going to have to be some sort of angle across the teeth, if you like, for it to sort of, blend in when it moves along the shaft. But wow.
So we call it a step follower system. And in addition to that, you can see that there's areas where we have perfectly aligned shift channels where shifting's not a problem at all. But we have these areas where it's called the danger zone, where you have pure misalignment of the teeth.
Now, I don't like the sound of that, the danger zone. I try and avoid that at all times.
So what happens whenever it shifts in the danger zone is, so these pinions will move over, but you have pure misalignment. So we have what's called a torque decoupler in here. So as it moves over, we have two spring-loaded bearings, which synchronize the misaligned teeth with the lead bearing of the master coming through. So it synchronizes and they mesh, and as the pinion continues to roll through, the torque decoupler springs back and then slides over and it completes the shift.
There we are. Quite complicated, but hopefully the visuals on screen are explaining everything, because when you told me, first of all, I was thinking, there is no way I'm going to be able to explain this. You're an engineer, I'm certainly not. But it's a great bit of technology.
I'm at the Wahoo stand and I've found one of the most exciting products here at this year's Eurobike. This is the Wahoo Kicker bike. Now, it's a complete indoor exercise bike, smart bike, that combines essentially some of Wahoo's existing products. So the Wahoo Kicker indoor turbo trainer with the Wahoo Kicker Climb, which is their device that you can attach to the front of your bike that raises it and lowers it to simulate climbing when you're riding a virtual app. Except this one has a bigger range now, so it can do minus 15% gradients and plus 20% gradients as well, if you ever want to ride 20% gradients. Anyhow, there's loads of other cool features on it as well. It's not just those two products combined. So these shifters are seriously neat. So they're covered in buttons and they're fully customizable. So there's buttons on the side, buttons on the inside, and buttons on the top, meaning that you can completely customize what the buttons do using Wahoo's app, meaning that you can set them up like Shimano shifters, or you can set them up like Campag shifters with these buttons on the inside, or like SRAM shifters with a single button on either side. Also, the brakes, they're designed to work too. Now, at the moment, not many indoor training apps have braking functionality, but it's something that we're going to see increasingly more of in the future. So the bike is future-proofed in that regard. In terms of adjusting it to your exact size and specifications, Wahoo has cleverly integrated a smartphone app to do this. So what you can do is if you've had a bike fit in the past, such as a Retool bike fit, you can input that into the app and then it will tell you exactly how to set it up with regards to the little graduations and numbers that are all over the different movable parts, which is pretty neat. Or there's another cool thing where you can take a picture of your bike using a sort of augmented reality photo, and it will tell you based on what your bike is, how you should then transfer that onto the indoor bike, which is also pretty neat. The crank lengths are changeable as well by way of these different holes. So you've got a choice of 165 through to 175. I quite like that because, well, normally I ride 172.5s. I've never tried shorter cranks, but I'd be tempted to do so, and using this I could. It'd be the perfect tool for the job to do that. So onto the business end of the unit, and in here you've got the power meter, which is accurate to plus or minus 1% and has a max power of 2,200 watts, which, to be honest, probably not going to be enough for these guns, but it'll probably be adequate for most people. And they've actually updated it from what's found on the Kicker. So you've still got the big flywheel, which gives a really realistic indoor road feel, but they've added a little motor to it as well. And this means that when you're on, say, a long descent in a virtual world, such as, well, Alpe de Zwift, for example, a flywheel will eventually spin out and stop spinning. But with the motor added to it, it can keep spinning and keep that momentum and keep a more realistic freewheeling experience. Also, and I really love this, the motor has been tuned so that it kicks in slightly and gives a little kick every time you change gear on the shifters, which gives that really realistic slight kind of, well, when you change gear on a road bike, you can feel it at the back, and that's what it's designed to do, which is really neat. And while we're on the subject of that, I mentioned that you can tune the shifters in the app to whichever type of shifter you like, be it Campag, SRAM, Shimano, whatever. But you can also tune the drivetrain. So if you want to run a 1x drivetrain, you can tune it so that it's a 1x, you can tune it so that it's a double or a triple, but also the sizes of the gears. So you could, say, run a 60-tooth chainring at the front and have it set as an 11-23 or a 12-speed or a 13-speed block at the back or a 10-speed. Whatever you want, you can completely customize it in the app to the drivetrain that you want to try out or is what's on your bike. But the added advantage of this is you can completely set it up to how you have your best day racing bike, but you're not wearing out your best day racing bike on the indoor trainer. And this actually has a Gates carbon drive in there, which is, well, largely maintenance free, and being indoors should last indefinitely. There's also a little display screen here which either tells you which gradient you're at or it tells you which gear you're in. It's really helpful and easy to see. And when you change gear, that little vibration at the back, it feels like you're changing gear on an actual bike. It's really weird, but it's really cool. You just have to experience it. But let us know what you think about the new Wahoo bike in the comments below. I wonder what John's up to right now.
Right, if you're anything like me and you absolutely love a tool, well, the good news is the folks at Partel have just released a almost screwdriver-like type Allen keys, or hex wrenches, as you may well call them in certain parts of the world. Now, they come in 2.5 and 3 millimeter increments, which is great for those tiny little grub screws you can find on bikes. And you don't really want to use the ball-ended part of an Allen key, let's face it, because generally you don't have quite as good connection on there. I am really, really relieved about that. Well, I'm going to show you some other new tools down there, including one which is going to make my life in the workshop much easier. Right, now at first glance, I actually thought this was a one-piece cassette removal tool, but in actual fact, it's really good because there's a little grub screw or set screw inside of there that you can simply remove and change the cassette tools that you require. Why do I think this is good? Well, it's more elegant, let's face it, than using the end of a chain whip or something like that. Speaking about chain whips as well, they've also updated and, well, brought them into the modern era of 12-speed group sets as well, not to mention the fact they've got a new chain splitter as well, 12-speed, and also a new chain checker, primarily really to match in with SRAM's Axis group set.
3D printing isn't new, it's been around a while, but many cycling brands haven't yet found ways to take advantage of the new manufacturing method. Physique is one that has. Check these out. This is a new saddle from Physique. It's called Adaptive, and what they've done is 3D printed this rather incredible structure which replaces the foam and covering that you would get on a traditional saddle. And their thinking is that they can actually change this really complicated matrix 3D structure to adjust the well, squidginess of the foam, so you can tune the saddle to how you like. At the moment, the adaptive saddle is only available in one model, and it's hidden away in this box, and it's the Versus Evo model with a carbon rail and carbon chassis, and you can see that these pads are then fitted on top of it. But that's how the saddle is. It doesn't then have a covering that goes on top. That's the finished product. Pretty exciting. It's slightly lighter than a traditional 00 saddle as well, but I think that's really cool. Looks very different. I'm over on the look stand and I've got some cool stuff to show you. So pretty much the hottest things in cycling tech are, well, titanium, ceramic bearings and carbon anything. And the new Keo Blade carbon ceramics with titanium axles tick all those boxes. These things are seriously cool and incredibly light. Just 95 grams a pedal, which is astounding. So if you compare that to the, well, Keo Carbon, the standard one, if you will, they're 20 grams per pedal heavier. Not much, but seriously bling, seriously cool. And there's actually a set here that a Roman Bardet's custom set from the Tour de France with polka dots on. And he's graffitied them as well. Probably take a note of that so I can forge some checks in his name. Now, although these are the pedals that we all hark after owning, the ones that we'll probably buy are the Look Keo Classics, which are much more affordable. Actually, my first set of pedals were a pair of Look Keo Classics, and they've been updated now. They've got a larger contact patch on the composite body, which it's been almost doubled, and Look reckons that this gives more stability and more confidence when you're pedaling and with that cleat interface onto the pedal. Nice.
Right, I've got a few new turbo trainers now coming from Elite. In fact, it's 2.5 because one of them's had a few updates and changes to it. But first up is the Sweeto here. Now, this is basically straight out of the box. You can use it because it comes fitted with a cassette, and it actually takes a really slimline profile and design about it, meaning that if you're limited for space, you can easily just fold that up, put it underneath a sofa, underneath your bed, I don't know, just store it away somewhere nice and easily. And while it's compatible with all of your gaming apps as well as through axles. Moving then onto the 2.0, which I really like. And I like it because it's actually got wooden legs on it. Check out that. It takes a completely different look from anything else we've seen out there, as does this. I mean, it's a wheel-on trainer, so it's not a direct drive like that Sweeto, but the 2.0, because of this silver box and everything, it fits in with more modern designed housing accessories, I guess, so it's not going to look out of place. Now again, it is a wheel-on style turbo trainer, so it's a more traditional style looking thing. I have been told as well it does work with different types of through axles as well, so everybody's catered for. And it measures power as well, up to 3% accuracy, which is pretty good for a wheel-on trainer because there's a few variables, I guess, to be thrown into the mix there. If we move finally then behind me to the Diretto X, it has got increased accuracy. It's gone from 2% down to 1.5%, and gradients have gone from 14% up to 18% capability. We've also removed a little bit of material here, meaning that the more modern style Shadow Plus style rear derailleurs like this, and also a bit longer with oversized pulley wheel systems and everything, they're also going to be fully compatible into the mix. And then something which I've been asking for years and years and years is this on the front of the bikes. Check out that. That's a steering device. Now, there's going to be a mechanical one as well as an electronic one too. So that means you will eventually be able to link that up when the updates come into a virtual world of cycling such as Zwift and be able to steer around your competitors. Finally. I'm happy about that one.
Here at GCN, we think tubeless tyres are great. They're becoming far more popular on the road, and for good reason. You get far fewer punctures and you can get lower rolling resistance too. But a common question we get asked is, what do you do if you get a puncture with a tubeless tyre? Well, there are a number of things, but a common thing is to actually plug it with a plug with a special repair kit. And thankfully, Peak have come up with some really cool gadgets that contain these repair kits. So check this out. This is the Tubey Bullet, and it's this really beautiful sort of canister made from anodized aluminium, and inside are all the tools that you'd need to repair a tubeless puncture. So it's a really neat design. Both ends pop off. You've got the air stop tool there, and then you've got the plug tool in the other end. And then inside this bit, you've got 3 plugs in there as well. They make the Tubey Bullet X as well, which is a slightly smaller version. And also this Tubey Tool Mini, which can attach to this Ninja pod. So the Tool Mini is, well, like a standard bike multi-tool, but it has the added functionality of those tubeless repair tools in there as well. So you've got the plug tool and a little blade if you need it, and the air stop tool as well. Really neat. You can always rely on Physique to come up with some cool little gadgets to solve a problem. If you want to know how to repair a tubeless tyre using a tubeless plug like this, well, GMBN have done some useful videos.
All right, I'll tell you what, I'm pretty teched out after all that.
Been a long day.
Yeah, it has indeed. And well, I've seen loads here, but we've barely scratched the surface, have we?
Yeah, there's so much here. So make sure you subscribe to GCN Tech if you haven't already. Click the bell icon, that way you won't miss any videos, because we're going to be uploading more videos like this over the rest of the course of the week. There's loads. Yeah,
that's right. And Ollie, you've been banging on so far all about these tech clubs or techno clubs, so...
Yeah, I think let's go.
Okay.
Ollie and Jon ist in die Disco. Allen die Nacht.
I wish you wouldn't do that. Go on then.
Let's go.